What if I told you that some of the most iconic guitar solos, drum fills, and harmonies you have ever heard were played by someone who was never supposed to be there? Just a ghost, hiding in plain sound. Today we are pulling back the curtain on 12 of the most jaw-dropping secret guest musicians in classic rock history. These are verified. These are real. And some of them will absolutely blow your mind. Let's get into it. Number 1. While My Guitar Gently Weeps. The Beatles, 1968. See the love that's sleeping. It is 1968. Abbey Road Studios, London. George Harrison has written what he believes is one of the most important songs of his life. And I see it needs. While My Guitar Gently Weeps. But there is a problem. John Lennon and Paul McCartney are not interested. They drag their feet. They show up late. The energy in the room is cold, heavy with tension, and George is running out of options. So he does something that has never been done before. He picks up the phone and calls his friend Eric Clapton, at that moment, the lead guitarist of one of the hottest bands on the planet, Cream. And he says, "Come play on my song." Clapton's response? "Oh no, I can't do that. Nobody ever plays on the Beatles' records." But Harrison wouldn't take no for an answer. He said, "Look, it's my song, and I want you to play on it." Someone controlled you. So Clapton came in, and what happened next was pure studio magic. The moment Eric walked into Abbey Road, something shifted. According to Harrison himself, and this is quoted, Eric came in, and the other guys were as good as gold. Because he was there, the presence of this outside guitar legend made Lennon and McCartney actually behave. And then Eric played that solo. The ADT treatment, artificial double tracking, was applied to give his guitar that beautiful wobbling weeping tone. Engineer Chris Thomas literally sat there for hours, manually waggling the oscillator on the mixing board to create that effect. And when it was done, Clapton listened back and said only one thing. There's a problem. It's not beatly enough. So they processed it even more. Eric Clapton was never officially credited on While My Guitar Gently Weeps. On the original 1968 White Album pressing, no mention, not a single word. Millions of people heard that haunting solo for years and had absolutely no idea who played it. In some versions, guitar solo, Frankenstein. No name, no credit. Number 3. Let's Dance. David Bowie, 1983. Secret guest, Stevie Ray Vaughan. In the fall of 1982, David Bowie walked into the bedroom of producer Nile Rodgers in Montreux, Switzerland, at 2 in the morning. Holding a beat-up 12-string acoustic guitar that only had 6 strings on it. He said, "Darling, I think this is a hit." And he started playing a quiet, folksy song called Let's Dance. Nile Rodgers listened, and his immediate internal reaction was, "You cannot call that Let's Dance." But Bowie's self-belief was unshakable, so Rodgers took the bare bones of the song, rearranged it from the ground up using jazz and funk theory, added that now iconic delayed rhythm guitar sound, which was actually a happy accident created by engineer Bob Clearmountain, and transformed it into something massive. But the real secret ingredient? A 27-year-old, largely unknown Texas blues guitarist named Stevie Ray Vaughan. Bowie had seen Vaughan play at the Montreux Jazz Festival. He was so blown away that he invited Stevie to the Power Station studio in New York with almost no fanfare. No big announcement. Just, come play. When Vaughan arrived, he plugged in his battered Stratocaster through his Super Reverb amp, ran through China Girl once to learn the song, said, "Now that I know it, let me try it again." And Bowie stopped him cold. That was perfect. One take. Stevie Ray Vaughan's searing blues-drenched solos on Let's Dance, China Girl, and Cat People were so unexpected in a polished pop context that most listeners in 1983 had no idea who was playing. The album sold 10 million copies. It was Bowie's biggest commercial hit ever. And Stevie Ray Vaughan, who was paid a flat session fee of roughly $2,000 for the entire record, went on to become one of the greatest guitarists who ever lived. People are still asking who that guitarist is. Number 4. You're So Vain. Carly Simon, 1972. Secret guest, Mick Jagger. You're So Vain. The song whose entire identity is built around the irony that the subject probably thinks the song is about him. But here is the real irony that nobody talks about. The person who sang backup on that song is someone you'd expect to be just a little bit vain himself. It is 1972. Carly Simon is recording at Trident Studios in London. She is laying down the backing vocal track for her new single with none other than Harry Nilsson, the legendary singer who later gave us Without You. And then the phone rings. Mick Jagger, Rolling Stones, calling into the studio. He had been recording at Trident before. The Stones had used it for Sticky Fingers. He knew the studio well. And when he heard what Carly and Harry were working on, he wanted in. Carly Simon later told the British TV show, This Morning, it was kind of chance in a way. He happened to call at the studio. Jagger stepped up to the mic, and the moment he and Carly sang together, something electric happened. Harry Nilsson heard it, and being the classy musician he was, he stepped back and said, "The two of you have a real blend. You should do it yourselves." So Harry walked away, and Mick Jagger, uncredited, sang the now iconic harmonies on one of the biggest songs of 1973. The song went to number 1. It stayed there for 3 weeks, and for decades, most people listening had absolutely no idea that the king of rock and roll was whispering harmonies behind Carly Simon's voice. Now, about who the song is actually about. That's a whole other story. Usual. Problem: the keyboard player for the session does not show up. The drummer Chris Slade panics. He runs across number 6, Like a Prayer. Madonna, 1989. Secret guest, Prince. Like a Prayer is one of the most famous pop songs ever recorded. The video caused a global firestorm. The Catholic Church condemned it. Pepsi pulled a $5 million sponsorship deal. But there is a secret buried inside the very first seconds of that song that almost nobody knew about for 25 years. That wild, shredding guitar blast you hear at the very opening, before the door slams shut and the choir kicks in? That is not a session musician. That is not a hired hand. That is Prince. Here is how it happened. It is 1988. Madonna and Prince are two of the biggest pop stars on the planet. They are friends. They are creative equals, and they are quietly working together on her new album at Paisley Park, Prince's legendary studio complex in Chanhassen, Minnesota. Prince recorded a full guitar solo for the title track, Like a Prayer, a scorching signature Prince performance that he laid down in mid-November 1988. But the solo never made the final cut. What did make it through? Confirmed publicly for the first time in 2014 by the song's producer and co-writer Patrick Leonard is Prince's guitar on that opening burst of sound right before the door slams. Just a flash, just a glimpse. Gone in seconds. Then Prince's backwards guitar solo appears again at the very end of the album, on the closing hidden track style song, Act of Contrition. No credit given. Instead, the liner notes simply read, "The powers that be." That was how Prince wanted it. He also played uncredited guitar on a third track on the same album, Keep It Together. Three separate appearances on one of the best-selling albums of 1989. Not one credit bearing his name. Prince was never going to let anyone own that moment. He just showed up, played like a hurricane, and let the music speak for itself. And for 25 years, the world had absolutely no idea he was even in the room. Number 7 as Tears Go By. Marianne Faithfull, 1964. Secret guest, Jimmy Page. Before the Riffs, Before the Bow, Before Stairway to Heaven, Kashmir, or Whole Lotta Love, Jimmy Page was a ghost. Between 1963 and 1966, Page was arguably the most in-demand session guitarist in all of London. He was playing 3 sessions a day, 6 days a week. So many records that, according to Rolling Stone magazine, quote, "The full scale of Page's session discography may never really be known." He played on songs for The Who, The Rolling Stones, The Kinks, Joe Cocker, Donovan, and a 17-year-old girl named Marianne Faithfull. In 1964, Faithfull was barely known. Her debut single, a cover of As Tears Go By, a song written by the Rolling Stones, would launch her entire career. And somewhere in that gentle, aching string arrangement is Jimmy Page's guitar work, uncredited, as always. Page would later say he sometimes couldn't even remember which sessions he played on. He was booked so constantly that individual recordings blurred together. He was everywhere on the London music scene, invisible and inescapable at the same time. And here is what makes this even more wild. When producer Shel Talmy called him for a session, Eric Clapton was still in the Yardbirds. Page was approached to replace Clapton in that band. He turned it down out of loyalty and suggested his friend Jeff Beck instead. Later, when Beck joined and then left, then Page finally stepped in. But by that point, As Tears Go By had already been a top 10 hit. Marianne Faithfull was already a star. And somewhere on that recording is the shadow of Led Zeppelin, years before the band even existed. Number 8. All the Young Dudes. Mott the Hoople, 1972. Secret guest, David Bowie. By the spring of 1972, Mott the Hoople were done. After 4 albums that failed to break through commercially, the band had made the heartbreaking decision to break up. It was over. And then David Bowie called. He had heard about their decision, and he was not going to let it happen. He summoned them to his manager's office in London. He showed up in a blue catsuit, sat down with a blue acoustic guitar, and played them a song he had written specifically for them. Drummer Dale "Buffin" Griffin later described the moment. He's strumming it on his guitar, and I'm thinking, he wants to give us that. He must be crazy. You couldn't fail to see it was a great song. The song was All the Young Dudes. The band agreed to record it. They went into Olympic Studios in London, and in a single 6-hour midnight session, the first time they had ever played the song, they cut it. But here is the secret most fans don't know. Bowie didn't just produce the track. He recorded a guide vocal to show the band how the song should feel. And that vocal, his voice mixed subtly into the choruses, is still there in the final recording. It's Bowie's guide vocal blended into Mott the Hoople's track. Not removed, not replaced entirely, just woven in. Bowie was never credited as a vocalist on the song's official release. He is listed as producer. And that's where the story ends, officially. But if you listen closely, if you really listen closely to that chorus, that glam rock swagger beneath Ian Hunter's voice, that's David Bowie. The song reached number 3 in the UK. It saved Mott the Hoople's career. And it became one of glam rock's defining anthems, recorded by a band that was 2 weeks from quitting, saved by a rock god who showed up with a song and stayed to sing on it. Number 9. Kid Charlemagne. Steely Dan, 1976. Secret guest, Larry Carlton.
While the music played, you walk by candlelight.
Steely Dan were notorious. Donald Fagen and Walter Becker were 2 of the most demanding, perfectionist, difficult-to-please producers in rock history.
Did you feel like Jesus?
They would hire a guitarist, let them record a solo, hate it, fire them, and bring in someone else the next day. They went through literally dozens of session guitarists per album. Some of the greatest players in the world failed their audition.
Every A-frame had your number on the wall.
And then there was Larry Carlton. In 1976, Steely Dan were recording The Royal Scam.
Kitchen clean. Everyone stopped to stare at your Technicolor.
The album's opening track was a dark, cinematic song called Kid Charlemagne, inspired by the legendary underground LSD chemist Owsley Stanley III. A musical Breaking Bad, decades before Breaking Bad existed. Carlton came in. He listened. He didn't play on the first run-through, he just listened. His approach was always, understand the song before you touch it. And then, on the session, he improvised. No preparation, no worked-out solo. Pure improvisation. The first solo, the one in the middle of the song, he did in 2 takes, and they spliced together the best parts. The final solo? 1 straight take. Live improvisation. Never rehearsed. Donald Fagen later said of Carlton, "He's a real virtuoso. In my opinion, he can get around his instrument better than any studio guitarist." He did the solos on Kid Charlemagne. The last solo was straight improvisation. Walter Becker called Carlton's contribution the defining guitar work on the album. Rolling Stone magazine later ranked the Kid Charlemagne solo as one of the 3 greatest guitar solos in rock history. Larry Carlton was a session musician, a gun for hire. He played the session, got paid, and left. Most rock fans who have heard Kid Charlemagne 100 times could not tell you his name. But guitarist St. Vincent once said the solo should always be played note for note, and she's right. Number 10. Money for Nothing. Dire Straits, 1985. Secret guest, Sting. What are the odds Mark Knopfler, guitarist and songwriter for Dire Straits, is on the tiny Caribbean island of Montserrat in 1984? They are recording what will become their landmark album Brothers in Arms at the famous AIR studios. While writing the track that will become Money for Nothing, Knopfler has an idea for the hook. He had seen the Police filming an MTV promotional ad, their frontman saying, "I want my MTV" into the camera. And he thinks, what if I set those words to the same melody as the Police's hit, "Don't Stand So Close to Me"? He loves the idea. But there's only one problem. That voice. That signature Police falsetto. For this to work, he needs Sting. Knopfler turns to his bandmates and says, "I really wish Sting were here." One of the crew members replies without missing a beat, "He is here." Sting was on holiday, on the same tiny island, at the same time. Knopfler later described the moment as perfect. He called Sting in. Sting heard the track, stepped up to the microphone, and sang his parts. The entire iconic falsetto intro, the "I Want My MTV" hook, in a single take. Done. 1 take. That 2-second decision, made because of a holiday coincidence on a Caribbean island, gave the world one of the most recognizable song introductions in rock history. Money for Nothing went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 3 consecutive weeks. It won the Grammy for Best Rock Performance by a duo or group with vocal. It was the very first video aired when MTV Europe launched in 1987. And because Knopfler built the hook around the melody of "Don't Stand So Close to Me," Sting's music publisher stepped in and claimed a co-writing credit. Much to Sting's own surprise, he had shown up as a favor, done 1 take, gone back to his holiday, and ended up with his name on one of the decade's biggest records. Number 11, Intruder. Peter Gabriel, 1980. Secret guest, Phil Collins. Peter Gabriel is recording his third solo album. He has a radical idea for the drums. He does not want cymbals at all. He wants the drums to feel brutal and primal. Stripped bare. He brings in two drummers, Jerry Marotta and his old Genesis bandmate Phil Collins. Together with engineer Hugh Padgham, they are experimenting in the studio when something completely accidental happens.
Had to move quietly to creep across.
While setting up the levels, Padgham notices something strange in the talkback microphone, the intercom mic that engineers use to communicate with the booth. It is picking up Collins's snare drum in a room with a low ceiling, and the room's natural ambience is being cut off abruptly by a noise gate on the mixing desk. The result? The snare drum sounds enormous, like a cannon, but it cuts off almost instantly instead of ringing out naturally. They patch it in.
Isolation, a sense of isolation.
They use it on the track Intruder, and in that single moment, that happy accident, the gated reverb drum sound is born. That sound would go on to define the entire decade of the 1980s. You hear it on virtually every major rock and pop hit from 1981 to 1989. Phil Collins would use it on his own solo record, In the Air Tonight. It became his signature. It became the defining sonic fingerprint of an era. Phil Collins is fully credited on Peter Gabriel's album, but ask any casual music fan if they know who played drums on Intruder in 1980. They will stare at you blankly. One of the most consequential drum performances in music history, hidden in plain sight. Number 12. If It Makes You Happy. Sheryl Crow, 1996. Secret guest, Taylor Hawkins. Sheryl Crow is recording what will become one of her signature songs, the raw, guitar-driven If It Makes You Happy. And the drummer on that track? A then little-known session musician named Taylor Hawkins. Yes, that Taylor Hawkins. Before he became the beloved, larger-than-life drummer of the Foo Fighters, one of the most celebrated rock drummers of his generation, Taylor Hawkins was grinding it out as a touring and session musician. He was playing for Alanis Morissette at the time, on the explosive Jagged Little Pill World Tour. He wasn't yet famous. He was just the drummer you called when you needed someone who could absolutely nail it. And nail it, he did. Hawkins' drumming on If It Makes You Happy has the exact kind of loosely powerful, slightly unpredictable energy that makes the song feel alive. That barely contained wildness underneath Sheryl Crow's vocals. That's all him. The song hit number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100. It became one of Crow's most beloved tracks, and Taylor Hawkins played on it before most of the world even knew his name. Less than 2 years later, Dave Grohl called. The Foo Fighters needed a drummer, and Hawkins stepped into one of the biggest gigs in rock and never looked back. He went on to become one of the most beloved musicians in the world, before his heartbreaking passing in 2022. But somewhere in the grooves of If It Makes You Happy, before any of that happened, is a young Taylor Hawkins, swinging hard and making magic in someone else's session.